Hi, it's Jeff Carlson with My Resource Library, filming another My Resource Library Speaks, MRL Speaks. Today I'm joined by Mark Barrell, who is the design director at Boss Design. Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
No, thanks very much for inviting me. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, and so Mark, obviously with your accent, we can tell that you're from Florida, but you're actually out of the UK, is that correct?
That is right. Yeah, we're a UK business, but we've had a US business and US operations for the last 5 years. So we're learning how you guys do it. It's still gone through our apprenticeship.
It's a lot of fun, I'm sure. And you guys have a facility in High Point, North Carolina, for your manufacturing as well, correct? Those are your three plants in the UK?
That's right. We've got 3 plants here in the UK. We've got a facility in Dubai, so it's in the Middle East. And then 5 years ago, we purchased about 80,000 square foot facility in High Point, where we've been manufacturing most of our bigger pieces of upholstery, a lot of our meeting and work cafe series. We can now make sort of 60 to 65% of our full range out of that facility. So yeah, we're building quite nicely.
Nice. And Mark, how long have you been with Boss Design?
This is my 17th year, Jeff.
So, short time, only 17 years. You must have started when you were 12. You're definitely aging a lot better than I am, Mark. So thank you for that. So I'm going to just kind of jump right in on some questions. Give me a little bit of the history of Boss Design for those that aren't aware of it.
So the business was established in '83 by an English guy called Brian Murray. He'd worked in the furniture industry before. He's an accountant, so he worked as an FD. So he knew his way around the numbers, but unusually for an accountant, had an eye for design. So he kind of looked around at what was going on, specifically here in the UK, and I guess honestly wasn't too impressed. UK. Design as a brand is strong through fashion. It's strong through automotive and industrial design. It's strong through architecture, but actually, from a furniture perspective, it was pretty fallow. Historically, UK furniture design, kind of set the path for a lot of what became established typologies, 100, 150 years ago. But actually through that time, through the 1970s, 80s, even into the early 90s, there wasn't an awful lot going on. For us here in Europe, it was all about, the quality of German engineering and the quality of Italian design, stylistically. So he figured there was an opportunity. And so he established a business that would put design at the forefront of what it did, would put quality at the forefront of what it did. And the area that we established the business here in the UK is one where traditionally domestic upholstery styles were pretty strong. So there was no shortage of skilled upholsterers. So the business has really been established on the back of, of quality upholstery, quality sewing, quality tailoring. And that's kind of, I guess we've got a large portfolio today that encompasses a lot of different areas, but, at our heart, we are an upholstery manufacturer. It's what we've done for, 35 years, and it's what we hope to do for the next 35. Taking everything that we've been taught by upholstery about detail, about tailoring, about cost and value, really, and now applying that to other product areas. But it all ultimately still comes back to hand skill and upholstery for us. So he built the business up to the size where revenue was coming in. He had some really nice big end user clients on the books, and got to the stage where he could afford to start laying down tooling for capital in injection molded plastics, aluminium, more molded foams, and that's when I joined him. So for me, the remit was quite clear. Take the business from being a purely UK entity to one that can compete on an international basis, and and make sure that the quality of our design work is what kind of sets us apart, keeps adding the value in, and makes us difficult to copy. So that's what we've set about doing.
Interesting.
There's been, an ongoing wish, if you like, from most big global end users to consolidate their supply chain. So when you go back 20 years, it was usual for, a UK company to supply UK offices, and a US company would supply the US offices, Asia for Asia, for instance. And now increasingly, these guys, are looking for a one-stop shop and looking for one company to service them globally. So it was critical that we spread our wings a little bit, got an international presence, and importantly, were able to sponsor that message of quality through all of those international sites, which has been a challenge, but we've done.
Yeah, you guys have, it's been amazing. It's kind of a couple of things you mentioned there. First off, I'm going to actually say I've never met an accountant that has an eye for design.
It's rare.
So that's very rare. Secondly, you followed, and where you guys are at in the UK, you kind of followed the same model over in the US, because High Point, North Carolina, obviously was the hub for all residential furniture. So you're getting that quality from that area as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's excuse me.
Yep.
It's not been difficult to recruit what we've needed from a cutting, sewing, and upholstery perspective. We're in the process of setting up, secondary sets of supply now, where volumes from the US market are big enough for us to justify, no longer taking componentry all the time from the UK and Europe, from the sets of tools we've got over here to the USA, but having second sets of tools over there from which we can draw. So, we're into the next stage, if you like. We've gone through through a lot of the teething problems. We've got a really solid, sustainable business over there, and now volume's starting to build. So we're continuing to figure out how to provide best service, how to get our lead times down, and how to ensure the quality.
Nice. And last year, I believe, was your first year showing in Chicago at Neocon, correct?
No, that's not right. We've been on the third floor of the Mart for 4 years.
Oh, 4 years. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, that's not correct. Like 5 years. The first 2 years, we had a pokey little showroom, little space opposite Hayworth, where Janice is now currently sitting.
Yep.
And then we got an opportunity through the Mart to take on a bigger space on the opposite side of the third floor, opposite Davis.
Yep.
And so this is 3 years we've been on that side. It's still not a big showroom in comparison to many of the others, of course, the big US guys that are there, but it's big enough for us to put on a show, to put a good spread of new product through the space. And the footfall, as you know, on the third floor is just fantastic. So it's heartbreaking. This year is, one of my favorite weeks of the year, undoubtedly, is Neocon. When you see that coming around in the diary, it puts a smile on your face, a week in Chicago. We're finding other ways to reach people at the moment.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was going to tell you one of my favorite weeks of the year. Actually, I do love Neocon as well. I mean, I'm there for 7 days, and I feel like that's like a month's worth of entertaining that I do. But my favorite week of the year has got to be Clerkenwell Design Week, which is in the UK, in Clerkenwell. And that is probably one of I really enjoy going to that show as well. And you guys have a really nice space there.
We do. That's our flagship space in Clerkenwell. So we took on that showroom, 2-story showroom, right on the corner, and again, footfall on a daily basis there is incredible. We took that on in 2008, just as the markets were crashing. We signed for a massive new space, but it turned out to be the right thing to do. Clerkenwell Design Week is a great time. We've been lucky the last few years. The sun's shining. Everybody, for those who don't know, so Clerkenwell was an area of London that attracted most of the architects and interior design practices into one small space. And of course, wherever the A&D go, the furniture and lighting manufacturers follow. So you've got this situation now where almost everybody within that sector is clustered within this kind of, half a square mile, for the most part. and everyone opens their doors for a week, and everyone just wanders from showroom to showroom. It's a great platform to launch new products here in Europe. And of course, because everybody's in their own space, you feel like you can spend a decent amount of money on the refurbishment of your showroom to coincide with that time, because you're not just getting the benefit of it back for 2 or 3 days, but it's an ongoing investment that sees you through the following year. So yeah, everybody looks great at Clerkenwell.
Yeah, it's a fun show to go to. It's usually about 2 weeks, I think, before Neocon, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
I've been the last 3 years in a row, and I know a lot of people that are over in the UK, and they always tell me the weather is so bad. But every time I've been there the last 3 years in a row, the weather has been fantastic. Like it's never even rained on me. So
got lucky.
I know I've so far I feel like that maybe is the best week of the year for you guys. So
yeah, it really makes a difference when the sun's shining and everybody's out on the streets and the restaurants and cafes are buzzing. Yeah, it's you realize what a nice area of London we have.
Yeah, and now I know you guys were also talking about some new products that you guys were going to roll out at Neocon this year. I know you get into the work cafe, and I think one of the products was Ola. Is that correct? Did I pronounce that right?
That's right.
Can you show us that?
We'll pull up a background image of this whilst whilst we're talking. In fact,
there we go.
Well,
well, we could talk about Paloma too, because that was my next question. Was Paloma?
Okay,
since you've got that one up.
Let's start with Paloma. It's here. So we're interested in I suppose across the portfolio as a whole, we're not looking at furniture that shouts too loudly. There are times when you need to bring in a new type of furniture forward, and there are times when you need to follow shorter cycle trends. But for the most part, we're looking at accessible design that doesn't offend anyone, but just is true to our roots, which is quality, is detail, and is comfort. So last year, when we were tasked with bringing a new meeting and lounge series through, we stuck to basics, really. We're a prototype heavy company, so it's not unusual for us to go around that process of prototype, assess, refine, update the CAD, cut again, 25 necessary. Each time you go round, each iteration, the changes are getting smaller and smaller. But it's that process of refinement that actually we love. So, what you've got here is 2 molded shelves, basically. One of them on a meeting chair dimension and one of them on a lounge chair dimension, which is a little deeper, lower, wider, a little thicker in the seat. But ultimately, shapes that have been born of dozens and dozens of user trials to make sure that we get the maximum amount of comfort we can from what visually is the simplest form possible. Beyond that, it's about offering these products on as many different base types with as many different finishes as possible to be able to pick up as wide a part of the market as possible, but importantly, without compromising any of it, without looking at it like it's forced. So, these chairs are just working from the left on this page. You've got sled bases with that kind of exoskeleton frame. You've got the 4-leg in steel. You've got 4 legs in timber, and then you've got swivel versions. There's also meeting chairs, which if you look on that bottom row, second from the left, you can put tilt mechanism, height adjustment, and mobility onto those, and suddenly you've got a really gorgeous sit that is at a pretty accessible price point, pretty accessible looking design, but executed to a high level of detail. Importantly as well with these, we wanted there to be very, very few limitations with regard to fabrics, vinyls, leathers, and alternative finishes. We're not a company that puts a new product into the market and then says, okay, here's the new product and it's available in this fabric or this leather range. We're more of a company that put a product into the market and we say to our architects and designers, okay, what do you want to do with it? So from a finisher's perspective, whether that's the timber that you choose or the color of the paint that you put onto the frames, whether that's a fabric with a really high heavy texture or something that's much flatter and looks more kind of sprayed on. But we're a company that encourage our customers to take our products and to show us what can be done with them. At the point when we put them out into the market, really that's just the starting point for this. Similarly, we can take our upholstery skills and we can say on almost everything that we do, wherever there's a seam, there's an opportunity for you to mix fabrics and finishes, whether it's contrast or matching stitches, whether it's, for reasons of cost and economy and mixing cheap fabrics on part of it with expensive fabrics on the parts that people touch, or whether it's for reasons of comfort and texture and warmth. A lot of people are going for alternative finishes on the outer wraps to that which you get on the inside. Shown in that photo, the picture on the top right of that row kind of starts to demonstrate that.
It's funny, Mark, because I will tell you, when I first looked at the initial image, and I'm the one that built your Chicago from your couch binder, so I actually had the luxury of going through this product at great detail. I love the stitching in the back. And, part of me, and I'm not a designer by any stretch of the means, but I immediately, when I saw that stitching, thought, I wonder if you could do that center back as one upholstery and then the sides as another. And you just pretty much said that you're flexible. Absolutely. In a lot of that. So
yeah, anywhere there's a seam, there's an opportunity for you to start to play.
And there's such a wide range of bases with this product that you really can meet a lot of different expectations in there. Like, you're showing the meeting room, situation right now versus a guest chair versus more of a loungy area. It's fascinating product.
Yeah, I'm interested in products that have a wide scope of use. It's kind of big corporate campuses now. There's far less definition between the types of product they need compared to ever before, and the difference between what is a meeting chair and what is a touchdown work chair now is potentially just a slightly different base. The difference between what is a lounge chair or something used for informal meeting and reception waiting is very, very small. So we're trying to of course get maximum value from the tooling that we're laying down, but importantly without making anything look forced or compromised.
It's beautiful, and that was a baseball stitch too, wasn't it? Down the
right.
seam. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of nice where the shape that we've created here. If you're using a fabric that's got a little bit of stretch to it, you actually don't need any seams at all. If you don't want to, you can just run that right the way around the shape, which creates a slightly simpler, clearer form sometimes as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful quilted one there too. Yeah, that's really the detail is fantastic. And when you typically roll out a new product, do all of your products have such the variety of bases that are available?
If you ask our commercial director, he'll tell you that I have to have a different base on every new product that goes through, and they never used to, but there are. Yeah, there are now. There's a real genuine need for all of these bases. Some architects and designers set out, specifically wanting something that's on a sled frame. Some set out specifically wanting something that's on a four-leg frame. The ongoing softening of the workplace means that timber frames are now an absolute essential if you're going to fulfill the opportunity, as well as steel that you could throw color and paint at and really embrace that. And of course, now every time you do something on a static frame, you've got to offer things that are height adjustable and swiveling and potentially mobile. And the expectation that the furniture will be able to work harder and be more flexible than ever before within these spaces is absolutely paramount.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's definitely a beautiful product, and in looking at the pricing points that you guys put that at, it's got a great price point to start with, and I just love the flexibility. The two different 4-star bases that you guys have in there, the widths and so forth. It's just really a nice job. I think this one's going to be a nice winner for you guys.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
So yeah, Paloma would have been the Neocon launch, the main Neocon launch this time round. But as it is, we've moved on this anyway. So there's stock of components on their way over to the High Point facility. It's in the new price list, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't have some fun with this on projects that we're bidding for at the moment.
Yeah, I've seen a few emails come out from Boss Design, and like I said, it's definitely already in our library, on my resource library. So it looks great, and I'm kind of curious to see what happens with the launch not being at a big trade show or at Clerkenwell or at Neocon, but it'll be fascinating to see how this does for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, market's a bit depressed clearly at the moment, but yeah, we're going to keep pushing on as confidently as we ever had. It'll come back, and when it does, we'll be there to service.
Yeah. And while you're pulling up Ola, I'll tell you something fascinating. Is a friend of mine sent me a picture. When was that? Maybe a couple weeks ago, where they went out for a walk and went by Buckingham Palace. And I've been to every year I go, I walk by Buckingham Palace because it's just kind of a fascinating thing to see. Nobody was there. And I've never seen it that empty before. Like, I've always seen it, 20 people deep at the gate, kind of watching the soldiers, and there was nobody there. It was fascinating.
Yeah, it's been very strange.
Yeah. And so this is Ola, correct?
This is Ola, which we previewed 2019, and then worked over the course of the last, the following 10 months to get to the stage where it's in full production now. And again, I'm going to tell you that this is a very broad, it's a very broad range. If I get you to an image like that, you start to see. Wow. So this started life as an out-and-out work cafe brief. So we recognized that work cafe, in terms of square footage within big projects, was growing at a rate that outstripped that of any other habitat within the workplace. Everybody's favorite place to meet is there with a coffee in their hand, and as somebody who is a supplier much more than I am a client when I go into these kind of places, it's usual now for us to host, for us to hold meetings in work cafes rather than be shown into a formal meeting room, unless you need the kind of, the connectivity that comes with a formal meeting room now.
Yep.
Work cafes where it's at. It was an area of our portfolio that we considered to be weaker than it was on the meeting side, so we set out to develop a plastic shell. So you look at this, and on the left-hand side, you've got what was the first sketch concept, which is essentially a comfortable plastic shell on a steel skid frame. But then, as we were in the process of developing this product, the market continues to change. On something that takes you more than a year to do, like this, and the informality around for what were previously formal meeting chairs and touchdown work chairs was moving the other way. So all the time it was getting closer to what we were developing as a work cafe chair. Similarly, work cafes started to demand kind of higher levels of comfort and levels of upholstery on plastic, and introducing timber shells and things like that. So again, you end up with this almost a hybrid product, if you like, that can sweep across an organization and fulfill both the formal and the informal requirements. So, on the left there, you've got an entry-level price point on an out-and-out it's a stacking chair. It's cost effective. It's there for the cafe. But then you look at the coral coloured one, the orange one, third from the left, and it's a fully upholstered shell. It's on a tilt mechanism with height adjustment mobility, with a really nice flexible arm on there, and you've got yourself a great little touchdown work chair.
Yeah.
So again, hopefully without feeling like any of this has been forced, or we've tried to spread it too thin, but important that the investments that we're making can capitalize on the widest range of use as possible. Color is being embraced at a rate, or in a way in which it's never been done before, certainly not whilst I've been working in the industry. And this is a chair which, from the shells to the frames to the arms, the bases, you can splash color, either contrasting or color blocking onto any of this and really create a massive amount of impact. Something that we're working hard on at the moment is to align ourselves with component supply chain who are able to do smaller quantities and higher levels of flexibility. So, gone are the days where to do a special color on a plastic shell, you'd have to put down 1,000 pieces at a time. Yep. Now for anything that's a reasonable sized project on a couple of hundred pieces, an architect can give you a RAL or a Pantone reference to match, and you can take that kind of stuff on. So yeah, it is to a large extent about flexibility.
So if I'm seeing this correctly, you've got a fully upholstered shell, you've got a upholstered seat, and then you've got the entire plastic shell.
And also, if I take you back to this image, you can also run a liner through the seat and backrest and retain that timber on the external. So you've got 3 different levels of upholstery that you can go in at with this, plus the show wood on its own or the plastic on its own. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that wood is just absolutely it, and I love this base. The base is absolutely gorgeous. Its simplicity, and I will give you kudos on the image that you just had up there. I think that really showed it well. But look, it's just gorgeous. It's just really nice.
Yeah, I mean, we moaned, like all manufacturers did, for years about the that vertical static base test from the BIFMA standards, which used to be 1.1 tons of force. Which meant that all of us guys had to over-engineer what we were doing. I mean, the safety margins on that stuff were just out of town. Thankfully, a couple of years ago, that was changed, and the 1.1 tons was reduced. I think it's at something like 750 kilos these days, which is still, of course, a lot. Yeah. But it means now that on a shell like this that's so slim and so refined, we've been able to take the sections of our aluminium bases down so that they don't look too heavy in comparison to those shells.
Yeah, it's really gorgeous. Do you happen to know the weight capacity of like what that chair is right there with the 4-star caster base?
So I said whatever the BIFMA 5.1 as a Type 4 chair gets us to. I know that in the UK here it's 150 kilos, which would be it's 300 pounds, I guess.
300 pounds, yeah. I think that's the conversion there. Sorry to kind of spring that one on you. I'm just kind of it's really a beautiful product, and it was one of the questions that popped into my mind. I just it's really gorgeous. So
yeah, I mean, it's everything that we bring through now as new product is BIFMA tested as well as the European norms. We're not interested here in having part of our portfolio that's manufacturable in certain regions. We want to be able to develop products that have one specification, global specification, global quality standard, and then roll it out as far as possible. Yeah. So we develop dimensionally now in line with the US recommendations, and as far as strength, stability, and durability is concerned, everything's on BIFMA. But I was scared of some of those numbers on the BIFMA tests compared to the European norms, a few years ago. But actually, we've proved that you can still, you can get down to quarter-inch shell, below quarter-inch thickness on the shell like this. You can still build in a huge amount of flexibility, but as long as you get the engineering right, there's no reason why you still can't have, a real watertight product.
Yeah, it's stunning, and I am a big fan of Boss Design products. I am one of my favorite products that you guys make is the Mango series. I just think that is in today's world that is becoming even more relevant is for this spacing. But these products, Paloma and Ola, I think are gorgeous. I think you would have had great success at either of those shows, and I think that you guys are going to have great success with them moving forward.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the dream anyway, right? So
well, absolutely. Well, we'll keep pushing. Absolutely. Yeah. We've got product that appears to be appropriate for the markets on both sides of the Atlantic, and there's no lack of appetite. So continuing to build our relationships with the architects, designers, your platform really really helps support that. And we're even at a time of some depression in the market now, we remain optimistic as to to our growth strategy.
Yeah. I think that you're going to see a change, and I think it's going to be really for the better. And I really think that products like these are just, that I could see this in a house. I could see this in a corporate setting. I mean, there are so many different settings that you guys are embracing that, but just in the base style alone, you could put that anywhere inside of a place.
Yeah. So. Funny you should mention home as well. Of course, as many manufacturers, I guess, are doing, but in terms of finding other outlets for our furniture. So on the 29th of June, we'll be launching the Boss Home Life website, which will be a full e-commerce platform selling directly to the public. We've realized, I think, going through this process, how many products we've got in the portfolio that are perfect for, residential dining chairs, homework furniture, dining tables, and even some kind of, lounge upholstery. So an abbreviated range of what was the contract upholstery with some different finishes will be available for public sale.
Interesting. So, that's actually a really nice, I've seen a couple other companies that are moving in that direction as well. So kudos for doing that. I'm excited to see what that is. Now, I may reach out just directly to Robert and ask him what's the best discount he can give me, so for my own personal use. But we do love your guys' product, and I wanted to kind of open it up. I don't want to take too much of your time today. I know it's in the afternoon and you're ready to go home, and I'm just starting my morning. But is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we kind of close up?
No, I mean, there's, I think, we're mourning Neocon a little bit, but we are showing that there's other ways to reach people at the moment. And we've been hosting regular webinars, to make sure that our network of reps across the US are well versed in all of the new products, that there's availability of samples for projects that come up. And we're carrying on.
Yeah. Well, that's the only thing you can do right now. And we're in unprecedented times. There's not a manual that you could pull off of your desk that says how to deal with this, interesting world that we're living in. So I just, Mark, I want to thank you very much for your time today. I want to make sure that you're staying safe, staying healthy. You informed me you're working out of the office 3 days a week now and working remote too, which is a change. That just probably changed not too long ago, right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, guidance here in the UK was such that, I worked out of the home office for 8 weeks, but, it brings its challenges. I mean, undoubtedly, when all of this shakes out, there's going to be more flexibility, both given willingly by employers because they've seen potential benefits in costs that can come from it, but also, demanded by the employees themselves who have found that, working from home is an option that doesn't prevent them from working effectively. Yep. But I'm not speaking to many people who are looking to go demanding a home working contract. What I am doing is speaking to lots and lots of people who just want to do a bit of both.
Yeah.
And whether it's 3 and 2 or 2 and 3 or 4 and 1, but just, just try and nudge that needle of work-life balance and flexibility just across a little further than it was before.
Yeah, I've been kind of reaching out to a lot of people as well, and I can confirm what you just said in my research, which is they don't want to just work from home. They definitely need to be able to go into a place, feel comfortable going into a place and having meetings and doing this. You still need social contact.
Yeah.
Do you need it every day of the week? No, but will there be a change? Absolutely. But there's still going to be people going to the office. And I personally, we work remote. Every My Resource Library employee works remote. We've been doing it for 8 years. I have 5 people that live in my neighborhood that I never see. In fact, a real funny story I'll share with you just real quick. One of our employees, and I didn't know this at the time, but I would drive my daughter to school, and the school was in the neighborhood, and the crossing guard was always waving to me. And I thought, and not just waving like a little bit, but like almost jumping in front of my car waving at me. And I went home one day and I asked my wife, I said, do we know the crossing guard at the school? Because like she's waving to me all the time. And I just happened to be talking to another employee of mine, and she said, oh yeah, that's Barb. She's been working for you for like 6 months. And like I had no idea that we had hired the crossing guard. So it was kind of fascinating, but everybody works remote. We do have an office. I'm the only one that works out of that office. But at the same time, they even every so often will have like a group meeting here or at lunch or something, because you just need social contact. So,
yeah, I do.
And you try and provide as best you can the products and so forth. So I really see us coming back to a new normal, but I think it'll be a normal that'll really embrace the products that Boss Design has.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of noise, a lot of opinions around this as to how it's going to go, and I've read a lot, especially the big architectural practices who are kind of giving their views on what it's going to look like, and there's some very compelling stuff out there, I suppose. But ultimately, my view is that the workplace of 2021 is going to be pretty much the same as the workplace of 2019. There'll just be a few more people working from home a few days a week, and for a short while we're going to have some perspex screens up.
Yeah.
But I still don't see anything particularly radical happening. There's just going to be perhaps a little bit less property to service, where a lot of these big corporate end users inevitably will exercise the break clauses that they've got on the leases, and they'll shrink a little bit in terms of overall square footage in the portfolio. But culturally, we need shared space, shared physical space, and if we're going to be working remotely more often, that only makes that shared physical space, even more important when we do come together. So, a tough few months ahead. There's going to be a lot of companies restructuring. There's going to be a lot of people laid off, I guess. But we get through that, and come 2021, I think everyone will start pursuing their growth strategies again, and and we will go again.
It's my belief, and obviously we've been growing so fast as a company ourselves, that it's now's definitely not the time to pause. Now's definitely the time to kind of continue the path that you guys were doing. It's not, don't hide from it, but kind of live through it. And we've been seeing some great things, and seeing a lot of design firms coming onto the website, looking at products. A lot of dealers are implementing new policies. I think you're going to see some great benefits, and I think we're going to come out of it in a better place. I think we were maybe a little bit hesitant before. Kind of things were good. Why mess, with the cart if things are good? And now I think what you're going to start seeing is more focused design work. So you're going to see more products that you guys are working on that meet specific needs versus just coming out with a new chair. And I think Paloma and Ola both accomplished those things. So kudos for being ahead of the game on that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
we'll keep pushing.
I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to tell us about with Boss Design, or should we just wrap up? It's completely up to you. I'll give you a few more minutes to talk about Boss.
I think we're good. We're picking our way through it, at the moment. But like you said, at the moment, it's just continue to invest in marketing, continue to reach as many people as we can, and kind of push on. Products like Mango, you're right. We're seeing a spike in inquiries for products that offer some level of privacy. Acoustics are obviously an important part of it, but now physical barrier between you and the next person is now at least as important. So yeah, it might be that we pursue that path a little further over the course of the next few weeks and months. Mango is a nice example of a kind of a product brought through which is inevitably on a shorter kind of trend cycle, but still, we retained that kind of the quality credential on the design and the production. And it was a nice example as well. I don't know if you know the background to that project, but it was the World Trade Center project for the Group M.
Oh, so I did not know that.
So, an HOK brief and one that we were, of course, able to respond to. So half of the portfolio as it stands now started life as a co-design project, or at least as a brief that was driven by an architect, designer, or a corporate end user for a specific project. I suppose the difference these days is, when we were a smaller business, we could take on that kind of special design on a project by project basis, but these days, you realize that it takes the same amount of time to do a special design for one project as it does to develop a product for the portfolio that could sell for the next 20 or 30 years. So you just need to make sure that what the client's asking for overlaps with what we knew we needed anyway to bolster the portfolio. And Mango was a great example of that. All the conversations that we'd be having internally about that kind of product were then kind of put on the table, and okay, this is the problem that needs solving. This is what we'd like you to do. So it's a pleasure when it works out like that.
Yeah, that's the true success story right there. In my opinion, that's what makes it all worthwhile. That's what makes your job worthwhile, right? I would assume you get a big rush when things like that all fall right into place. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the texture, it's the variety. That's the thing. There's no two products that or no two developments that are the same. Everything runs a fairly meandering course a lot of the time, especially if you've got multiple clients involved. But it's ultimately really rewarding. Especially I get to walk the floors as well of the workplaces that we've installed furniture in, sometimes weeks, sometimes months after we've delivered, and see how it's being used. Not everything, not in terms of, setting by setting. There's always the interesting things there. You wonder why certain settings are being used and why others aren't. And you're trying to drill into what the reasons for that are, whether they're psychological or practical with regard to connectivity or the like. But all the time learning, and we're a design team who are not, working in the closet and then kind of come out with a ta-da moment. We're a design team who are out in normal circumstances in front of clients, walking clients' floors every week of the year. And I hope, or maybe I guess that's ultimately why we hit more than we miss.
Yeah, you're listening to what the world needs. I think that's fantastic. So, well, we look forward to meeting you in person at Clerkenwell next year, and then I look forward to seeing you at Neocon next year. And when the world rights itself and we get back to our fun trade shows that we all enjoy. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate it. And we'll get this published and out right away for Chicago from Your Couch.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.